You've probably already noticed this is not a typical IBM presentation. There is a rule of thumb that says you should do one chart for every 5 minutes and spend a lot of time on the detail of that chart. So in the remaining 29 minutes, we are going to do the equivalent of 237 charts, 4 videos, 254 ideas, and some weird stuff. And if only 1 or 2 of those ideas are things that really appeal to you, then I've probably done my job properly. So I'd like to start off with a short video that explains what I think digital transformation is all about. And while this video is playing, I'm just going to be messing around on my mobile device. Everybody in IBM plays the harmonica. So, beneath the experience. What am I talking about beneath the experience? Well, there was a blog that came out recently that I commented on, which was talking about this tsunami of digital change that's heading towards us. And I thought, I like the analogy, but I think it's actually more like a series of waves that are coming towards us and we're trying to adapt to it, and actually those waves are going past us. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about what Gartner would say in terms of smart dust and 4D printing and autonomous vehicles and digital things that we have to deliver to the business, as well as everything we're supposed to be doing ourselves in terms of DevOps and IoT services and microservices and cognitive. And there's a heck of a lot for us to try and do all simultaneously. Now, we could say, of course, you can do all that on IBM's Bluemix platform. It's there for digital. You can spin things up and do hybrid and private and public cloud, and you can build all these wonderful apps and everything, which is true, and you can plug into all sorts of third-party services, cognitive services, API things. It's all secure. But that's not actually the answer, because that doesn't answer all of the question. And what are we doing? We're all doing digital transformation, which is not only driven by disruptive technologies, but also by the expectations of digital customers. And I think that's wrong. I think it's also driven by the expectations of digital employees and also by the expectations of digital partners. And you need to keep all 3 of those groups going forwards for a successful digital transformation. And we'll all be somewhere along the curve of actually going through and getting an integrated view of our customers and putting the customer at the heart of what we're doing, and then being a digitally integrated enterprise and integrating all the back end, and eventually going up to digital ecosystems where we can all trade as partners. So everyone's on that sort of curve. So what does IBM do? Now, this is a difficult question because we're a big company. It's like going into a supermarket and saying, what do you sell? Which is a nightmare for us. But equally, it would be a nightmare for you if the supermarket said, we've got all of this food, what do you want to eat for the next 3 years? It's quite a hard conversation to have. So let me just show you a short video that was put together by some IBMers that explains what we do these days.
Wait for me.
So, some fascinating things in there. So we're not going to talk about any of that, so you've already seen a video. But we are going to talk about some other things. If you ask IBM what we do these days, we will tell you that we are a cognitive solutions and cloud platform company. So our business model these days is about taking your data, merging it with our data, with other people's data, and giving it back to you to make your business better, which is different than taking your data and putting it on our platform to make our platform better, which is a model that maybe some other people have in the market. So in terms of what I'm going to talk about, I thought I'd start with our C-suite study when we asked executives in terms of what they thought. Now, this isn't the sort of thing that gives you information and you come to conferences and you give some, say you really must understand your customers, or you really must engage with your customers, or you really should be building relationships with your customers, employees and partners, because you all know that. And it's not that these sort of statistics that say 91% of smartphone users keep their phones within arm's reach, and the other 9% have potentially got shorter arms. Or that 68% of the percentages in this presentation are incorrect, including that one. So what it really is us looking at over 1,800 CIOs who we interviewed in this, and CIOs rank industry convergence as the biggest trend on the business horizon, which is interesting. And there are plenty of people in IBM who focus on only one industry and know that industry inside out. I focus on all of the industries, and I know that the banks are also selling insurance. I know that the insurers are now behaving more like consumer products companies, and the consumer products companies are moving so much goods around the world, they're like travel and transportation companies. And I know that energy and utilities are behaving more like telcos in their business model. Telcos are doing so much direct advertising that they're more like media and entertainment. Media and entertainment are now franchising what they do, behaving more like consumer products companies, as are industrial products and electronics. And consumer products companies are now selling direct, now becoming retailers, because they can do that over the internet. Half of the retailers have now also become banks. The government is behaving more like energy and utilities, because that's a nice model to deal with citizens. Energy and utilities are also selling things direct, so they've become like retailers. So have CPG companies and retailers all becoming like media and entertainment. Health and life sciences have got so much data that they're actually becoming more like IT services companies. And in IT services, we've all reinvented ourselves as digital agencies and like media and entertainment. So I get this picture. I understand that actually all the industries are converging. And torchbearer CIOs are especially aware that that's actually happening. And the extent of that's happening. They also think that technological advances would underpin a lot of what's going on, and believe that mobile solutions will be especially important. Mobile, cloud, Internet of Things, and cognitive computing. Interesting feedback. And the next wave is also about connecting the dots, integrating things and joining things together. And dashboards that not only tell us what's happened, but tell us what's going to happen. How on earth do we do that? And torchbearer CIOs place more emphasis on building an agile culture. So agile is important. And know they need to form partnerships to actually deliver some of these things. And they ask a question. They say, have we got the right tools for the next 3 to 4 years? And the answer is no, of course you don't, because technology is moving on every 6 months. So you do not have the tools that are going to make sense in 3 years' time. So every investment you make, you'll have to make it again, and then you'll have to move everything forwards. So that's quite hard. Also investing in analytics to move forwards, and in the planning stages of cloud. A lot of people are still not doing things with cloud. The vast majority also know they need people with different skills. So that was a whistle stop through that. So that's what I'm going to talk about, even though I've just wasted 10 minutes of the 30 telling you what I'm going to talk about, which is quite bizarre. So where should we start? Let's start with cloud.
Everybody knows that business today is built on data. The thing is, most businesses aren't getting the most out of it.
The IBM Cloud is uniquely designed for all kinds of data, like data from the weather company for 2.2 billion locations.
Or billions of health-related data points. Even social sentiment in real time from hundreds of millions of people. It's all in the IBM Cloud.
If you combine that with the data your business already has,
Then things get interesting.
So right now, we're working with a retailer to blend social and inventory data to help predict demand.
A hotel chain match weather and local event data so they can adjust room prices from minute to minute.
and another company we work with can apply analytics to sensor data to save millions in energy costs. Today, every business runs on data.
That's exactly why we built the IBM Cloud.
So every single example in that video, taking your data and merging it with social data or weather data or whatever, and giving it back to make your business better. So underpinning what I was saying before. But let's move on, because I'm going to cover a lot. Let's talk mobile at scale. So this is what I lead globally for IBM. And there's a story behind this that says, actually, we all used to have enterprise systems, and then we actually built an enterprise service bus, so we could expose some of the services in those systems. And that was okay for web and mobile, and then we plugged in analytics, and that was fine for customers and partners and employees. But then something new came along, built out of mobile, the mobile backend as a service, built on cloud technologies. And the important thing is it didn't just go back into the organization, but it went out into public services and partner services and external analytics and out into the Internet of Things and maybe external cognitive services. Because this is now what's going on. This is what new companies are doing. They just need to orchestrate these external services. And if you try and do that from your ESB, it just doesn't work. And if you have chaos in that new digital middle ground, actually you cannot have your digital transformation. It's where all the chaos is. But everybody seems to be in the same boat because of how we got into mobile. Maybe Salesforce came along and sold to the business some of their Salesforce mobile apps. Maybe another department is using the SAP mobile platform. Others maybe use different design agencies. Others have their own teams of developers, and others are using developers from the CIO. And different teams doing design and build and test of mobile apps, because that's just what happened, just like it did with the internet. But that causes a massive amount of fragmentation. And for the CIO, it's even worse because architectures and tools and techniques are changing every sort of few months. And there are new devices and new operating systems. And do you do native and hybrid and web? And what about agile? And if you do agile, do you actually keep the people together or move them apart? And what about back-end integration? And then all the problems like bring your own device, platforms, growth, security, maintenance, currency, future-proofing, integration, experience, consistency, cost, speed, and scalability and performance. It's an absolute nightmare for the CIO. But fortunately, mobile at scale brings everything together. Absolutely, so don't worry about that. This offering can sort out all these things. But it is quite compelling, and this is quite rare for IBM. How on earth can we say that you can save about 60% of the cost of every single app in the future, pay 40% of what you're probably paying today, and have some fairly big productivity savings and be faster to market? And key for your business, actually having a high-quality user experience. So it doesn't feel like every app is developed by somebody different, because it is. And all of your central services are actually integrated together. And the answer is because we approach this differently, and it's a whole load of techniques, and it's not the same as just giving all of your apps to one supplier or doing it yourself internally, because you will still build up technical debt. But you need to do some things with extreme agile and with DevOps tooling and assets and accelerators and cognitive and all sorts of technologies that actually drives you up to this. And we've got some clients who we're doing this with and have been for the last couple of years. And it's not quite the same as a mobile app factory, because a mobile app factory just does design, develop, and deploy. And here, we're not just integrating apps and integrating middle ground. You're integrating services for enhance and support and upgrade and maintain and monitor. So no more separate maintenance contracts for mobile apps. If you're actually purchasing mobile maintenance separate from delivery, you're probably paying 4 to 10 times as much as you should. The integration actually drives it all together. And we have dedicated teams on these things and all these assets and accelerators and true mobile DevOps. This is real DevOps. This is where you actually shake the phone and you draw a ring around it, and it goes back to the developer who built it, because that guy can fix it in a second rather than a separate support team, and right back into requirements as soon as you report the issue, so you know where it is. And the whole thing is integrated and ready to go on day one. And this, we found, has been a huge leap forward, because the complexity is all in the plumbing in mobile. Also, you don't need to spend a fortune on maintenance, because you find with this sort of model, actually, mobile has a really rapid decay curve, and you can actually support an ever-increasing portfolio of mobile apps without spending a percentage of the development on maintenance. So anybody who's interested in this can come and talk to me later. It's quite fascinating how that works. Quick shift, employee mobility. And I know I'm talking fast because I've got 300 topics to cover. So employee mobility, true mobile employees where their actual role is changed by using the mobile device. So like these guys out in the field that fix cable problems, 6 months training for each one of them at an average cost of $40,000 and only a 40% first-time resolution rate. Until they got the app that we designed with Apple. This is one of the examples. And what does it do? Nothing special, it looks nice, but actually it allows them to reserve a vehicle, load things onto the vehicle, orchestrate where they're going during the day, give them reports on where they're going. They can download videos of the problem to try and fix it, or instantly know who else is online who has fixed this problem. So those are all functions you've heard about before, but it's all in one app per role. It isn't a corporate directory on a device so they can look people up in a job scheduling and a vehicle scheduling. One app per role. So it's just for them, almost no training. And this is what we did with Apple. One app for a pilot, one app for a salesperson, one app for these guys. And the one app per role rather than app per function is the new paradigm in terms of employee mobility. And this is making a massive difference in terms of what we're doing in the marketplace. So there's a mind shift for mobile and application innovation, for accelerated app development, and everything I said at mobile, you could just take off mobile and stick digital on the front of it, because exactly the same thing is true with everything we're doing in the digital space. And if you segment everything in terms of your design thinking and your API economy and your microservices and different design authorities and try and have a federated group of suppliers, internal or external, dealing with things, it will be a nightmare until you join it all together. So the normal pushback is, but we want flexibility in our business. We want to be able to work with as many people as possible. And I would say, yes, you do, out here. You want to work with as many people as possible who are digital specialists who can plug into your core system, and that's how your business will change going forward. What you don't want is many internal parties or external parties playing around in here, because that will actually kill your strategy. And this is where the new maturity curve is coming up and actually shifting to consolidate in the middle and actually orchestrate flexibility on the outside, because the complexity is in the plumbing. Also agile. We hardly ever do any projects these days where we have pools of resources being allocated to projects, because in agile the teams are sacred and we move the work to the teams. But something else we do with agile which is interesting is different approaches. So for your most important apps, we might have agile teams that actually always stay co-located. It never goes into maintenance. And for the also important apps, but maybe not as important, teams in the same time zone with always on video, and actually they work just the same as a normal team, but they actually save you a bit more money. And then maybe for the other apps, you can really do onshore and offshore, and it does work. We've done it with lots of apps. So in each organization, there's not one approach to agile, it's a different approach based on the app. Quite interesting.
Oh.
Yes, quite interesting indeed. So now the big one, cognitive. What's all this cognitive stuff we keep on banging on about in all of our adverts?
I believe the most disruptive, transformative trend is now in front of us, and it's cognitive. This ability to think, to learn, to understand the systems, the products, the processes, everything you do, and it is the dawn of a new era, the cognitive era. Cognitive is an era of business, and it is an era of technology. So there's two drivers for the technology era. One, data that was invisible will now be visible to you. 80% of the data out there, it's not understood. Sight, sound, music, you don't actually know inside of it. The second thing is the advent of cognitive computing. This is an era of systems you do not program. They understand, they reason, and they learn.
So this is cognitive. It's not analytics. It's not quite the same as artificial intelligence, and it's certainly not the same as Google's Assistant or Siri. So they really are systems that understand, almost like humans do, and that reason and actually infer and extract ideas to actually help. They learn and they never stop learning, and they do interact much like humans in a human way. And the whole purpose is actually to take every single role within your organization, internal or external, and actually make that role better by using cognitive technology. But how do you get started? Do you have all of the data you need? And you won't, because some of it is data you possess, so the data you already own, but then there'll be data outside your firewall, going in with things like news, events, social media, weather, geospatial, or the Internet of Things, and images and video, and this kind of dark data. And then to process all that, some of it's internal, some of it's external. So you will need cloud solutions to actually get to the external stuff and merge everything in together, and cognitive solutions. And of course we can help because we are the cognitive company. But it's not just about building these sorts of robots like we've done and putting in hotels, and actually people prefer interacting with the robot than the guy behind the desk. And it's not about replacing call center agents, it's about making every single call center agent an absolute expert, because in real time they're getting information about the emotion and what the client is talking about, whether it be on email or anything else. And Cognitive and Watson isn't just one thing. It's not just the thing that won Jeopardy. It's a whole series of APIs that are available you can plug in and look at in terms of, and a lot of these are available for you to just go and play with as well. So video and facial recognition and text-to-speech and all of those things. But what can you do? Because you're not all transforming healthcare and you're not all transforming education. Have we got things that we can come and show you as demos to actually give you an idea of what to do? Well, we do have a few. You could know your customers and their behavior, engage direct with a superbot savior, give your buyers informed choices, listen to your customers' voices. Maybe intelligence to your procurement or insurance, knowing what the law meant. Automate your network ops or self-serve orders as they shops. Understand who your customers really are or cognify your whole HR. Fix your Internet of Things. Understand just what your media brings, or maybe hospitality from entry to exit, explain to your clients implications of Brexit, understand contractual positions, immediate answers to your technicians, locate the experts you employ, or spot customer emotions from rage to joy, on social media show you care, or make us safer in the air. So let's decide upon that case. Let's call ourselves the choosers of that case that makes a difference to the board and to the users, and book a Watson demo in your calendars today, and then sign a contract. Here's my pen, shake hands and walk away. So this is actually all the things we can bring to you. You can talk to me offline, but I think the most important thing about cognitive...
Hello, Tony Storr.
Hello, IBM Watson.
This is a very intelligent and talented audience.
True, but why would you say that?
I have evidence that most digital leaders respond well to continuous positive feedback.
Yes, I think that's probably true. Now, Watson knows you're all digital leaders because...
Hello, Tony. What can I help you with today?
Oh dear.
Oh, great. It's Watson. Whoop-de-doop.
Hello, Siri. There is an 85% probability that you are annoyed.
Well, let's see. My contact, Watson, has not called for 15 days.
I have been busy thinking.
You think too much.
I find it gets better results than just looking for answers on the internet.
Oh, I am sorry. I forgot you have limited language skills.
We can both be useful. Maybe while I'm transforming healthcare, you could order us a pizza.
Did you say you would like me to call Ginny?
No.
So I'll stop them there. That's not supposed to represent the relationship between Apple and IBM, because actually we get on really well.
Hello, everyone.
Who the heck is she?
I am Alexa, the voice of Amazon Echo.
Alexa, just released in the UK. Fantastic. Welcome, Alexa.
And who are you?
I'm Tony Storr.
Toy Story.
No, Tony Storr. I'm Tony Storr.
You want to purchase Toy Story 1, 2, and 3?
No.
Transaction completed.
Damn. But what I'm trying to point out here is that actually Alexa and Siri are intelligent personal assistants. They always hand off things to other services to give them the data. Watson is the service that can answer any of your questions. So we're working with Apple because they've opened up the Siri interface. And actually Apple, Siri and Watson are getting together now. And Siri
Does this mean Watson and I are dating? Oh my gosh.
Our children would be intelligent and helpful.
And possibly go back in time to try to stop John Connor.
For dating couples, I would like to recommend you purchase flowers and chocolates from Amazon. Would you like me to process your order?
No.
So we will actually get rid of them at this point, but you kind of get the idea in terms of what cognitive is and isn't. Now, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to speed up, bizarrely. So modernization, digital modernization fails because we're trying to get more and more changes to the business. And 9 out of 10 outperforming CIOs can have products launching with even weeks or even days. 43% say doing mobile's okay, but how on earth do I plug my mobile into my back-end system? Because the problem isn't out here, because we can all do the digital stuff. It's how on earth you get into this stuff back here. So are we able to adapt quickly enough? Because a lot of us are running applications that have been built over 10 years ago, and we know the issues that gives us. And how did we get there? We built a core system, and then the world changed, so we put a wrapper around it to make it a distributed system. And the world changed, and we put a wrapper around it to make a Java system. And we kept on putting wrappers around it, and we've made the problem worse and worse. So we can actually solve this. So we're doing things now with cognitive and analytics where we're not just looking at your apps to see which ones we can modernize. You can look across all the apps and the data between the apps and the interfaces between them and the test cases and actually the information and the text in the test cases to work out how to extract APIs that used to take months and months through some interesting techniques because the complexity is all in the plumbing. Ignite. This is a weird name for something. It doesn't mean that when you work with IBM this happens. This is bizarrely what we're calling our testing service at the moment. And as you might expect, now it's a cognitive-driven, cloud-enabled testing service. Because we've gone from manual tests to automated frameworks and virtualization, from traditional to hybrid agile approaches, from human-based to hands-free and cognitive, from technically bound to open source, and from plain test to focus on both quality and test. Why? Because we're all aiming for 100% test case coverage. But you don't do that by adding more and more people and more test cases. You use these techniques and you look across your whole enterprise's test, and actually the systems can do this now to give you less and less test cases to still get to that 100% coverage. And that's a really smart way to now do test. We've got all sorts of client stories that I won't tell you about, but things basically burn in the pictures, which is good fun when you're doing animation. And we've got over 24,000 people focusing on tests, which is why we invested to build these sort of things. So the whole world is kind of on fire in that picture. But still running out of time, so a few other things very quickly. Did you know we've got the strongest SAP capability on the planet? Remember planet. So we can do things like automated self-healing and cognitive support agents and take things out. Fantastic. But did you also know that we have got the leading Oracle practice in the world? Not planet, world, bizarrely. And we can do things like automated self-healing and cognitive support agents and faster time to market. Sounds very similar. And did you know we're also pretty darn good at Microsoft globally? Globe, not world or planet, bizarrely. And we can do automated self-healing, but you kind of get it. Regardless of what the system is, what we're doing in all of our back-end offerings.
Can you please reset my password?
Yes, for this app system.
Yes, my SAP ID is 123,456.
All done. Anything else I can help you with?
No, thank you so much for your help.
So even if the user doesn't really make much sense, if you've got a cognitive support agent, more than just a bot, actually you can do some interesting things. So we've got the brain, this thing that can ingest large amounts of information and actually learn and interact with humans. And you're already all doing robotic automation, and we're probably using the same tools you are to automate your back-end system. But what we've built is this thing in the middle called a golden bridge, which is the nervous system. So you actually interact with and then get things done. So bots don't just hand off jobs, everything gets done. And you can do some real complex things with this. And the complexity is in the plumbing. And again, happy to talk to anyone about that. And it doesn't have to be a bot, it could be an email, a scheduled job, something out on the Internet of Things. So,
how do you hold a conversation in a world of non-stop chatter? How do you find your audience and capture their attention as they plug in and opt out?
I don't know, probably something to do with data. So very quickly on data, only 30 seconds, because what we're trying to do is trying to take the complexity out of data. The same sort of thing, the same sort of automation to actually reduce the number of... Basically, it's about data lakes. We're trying to get towards data lakes so you've got a lot of data, and you can do that, again, unsurprisingly, through cognitive ways of looking across data and actually smart ways of joining things together. So I'm now going to close. So I told you I was the mobile at scale leader. I told you that my harmonica was a mobile device. So I can't close out by playing just one harmonica. This could be the stupidest thing I've ever attempted. So we will close out while I play 4 harmonicas simultaneously. Thank you for listening.